Tonight's big stories: a major cyber outage hits airlines, banks, and a long string of companies worldwide, with some calling it the biggest IT crash in history.
Now, over 60 medical groups are speaking up and urging President Bongbong Marcos to undo the plan to have GOCCs like PhilHealth return their unused funds.
And the self-rated poverty rate, as measured by SWS, hits the highest point in 16 years. A whopping 58% of Filipinos say they identify as poor.
Good evening, welcome to the show. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Riza Diaz.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
Well, in case you haven't felt it, a major tech outage hit many banks, airlines, retail stores, and media companies around the world today. In fact, some are already calling this the worst outage in history, given the scale of it. So what do we know so far? First, it grounded planes and trains in many parts of the world. You can see from the images, lots of passengers were stranded at various airports in major cities, including in London, Bangkok, Sydney, Singapore, Berlin, Lisbon, and many others. All the major American airlines, American, United, and Delta, grounded all their flights, according to authorities. Our own airlines here were not spared, with Cebu Pacific and AirAsia having to cancel or delay flights too, although we don't yet have the exact number of the flights affected at this point. Wherever they were in the world, the stranded passengers were clearly upset, especially as it wasn't immediately clear what was happening.
It was so busy, we didn't know what was happening, and we understood that there was a problem with the system. So we've been waiting until they told us the flight was canceled. So now we are trying to book another ticket for tonight, but they're $600. So I give up.
It was very chaotic. So whoever arrived here, they had no idea what's going on. I mean, this is the first time I experienced something like this. So I saw everyone checking with staff member, like what's going on, what's the next move.
In a statement, the Manila International Airport says it has mobilized additional manpower to manage extended queues at check-in counters and will provide malasakit kits to affected passengers. Banks were also heavily affected in the Philippines. BDO, BPI, Metrobank, Union Bank are just among the major banks that we know that had been affected by the global outage. And during this time, services that were affected included withdrawals, fund transfers, credit card services, deposit transactions, and bills payment. The banks issued their own statements, and most said they had mobilized teams to look into the matter and that they are or were assisting customers as much as possible. For its part, the DICT said they are vigilantly monitoring the ongoing software outage allegedly caused by a faulty update of a cybersecurity provider. We assure the public that the department does not use the same cybersecurity service provider and that no DICT systems or assets have been affected.
So the question everyone is asking now, what happened here? Well, that outage was traced to an American cybersecurity company called CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike is a cybersecurity firm used by numerous Fortune 500 companies. Its CEO, George Kurtz, posted on X just before 6 p.m. our time and said that CrowdStrike is actively working with customers impacted by a defect found in a single content update for Windows hosts. Mac and Linux hosts are not impacted. This is not a security incident or cyber attack. The issue has been identified, isolated, and a fix has been deployed. Our team is fully mobilized to ensure the security and stability of CrowdStrike customers. So it was caused ultimately by a single software update, which the cybersecurity firm is paying for dearly. CrowdStrike shares at one point were trading nearly 20% lower in pre-market trade in the United States. And some analysts are estimating that it may lose up to $16 billion from this episode, or about a fifth of its value.
Wow. This is
It was
Global.
It was bizarre.
Chaos.
global
Yeah.
chaos, and it reminds me of that old joke. You know, if you think you're having a bad day, spare a thought for that person who pressed
Yeah.
go on that software
Right,
update,
update.
right?
That's why people tend to skip those updates now.
If I may say, this is so much worse than the whole Y2K bug back in the day that we were fearing.
This
It
is
didn't happen.
Y2K. Nothing happened in
Yeah,
Y2K.
exactly.
This is
This is
Y2K,
Y2K.
right? We're talking about billions and billions of dollars that people now, all these companies now have to cough up. I mean, talking about airlines, one of the most affected. We were sharing on our chat groups earlier today about how, you know, people were reporting that they had to get
Manual check-in. That's the
manual
contingency
boarding pass.
plan. Yeah.
My husband was in Cebu trying to fly back, and he was given a manual boarding pass. He had to line up. Everyone had to line up, get checked in manually, and you were given a boarding pass. So it's all mano-mano, basically. So
I also got the same message from my cousin who is in Osaka, and same thing over there. I mean, it's Japan, but total chaos.
everywhere. It's
Everywhere.
really global.
I'm glad though that we're not hearing yet about medical transactions that are being delayed or
The NHS in the UK,
Already.
the National Health Service in
Yeah.
the UK, reported that they had some
Already.
delays as well. To what extent, it's not clear at this point, but they were also using Microsoft
Microsoft,
Windows.
because it's
It's a
Microsoft.
single software update to a Microsoft Windows platform that caused all this. And
So now
just like
everyone
that,
wants to
right?
know, what is CrowdStrike?
hey,
right? Everyone's asking that.
I have a little anecdote about
Okay.
CrowdStrike. Actually, CrowdStrike is before today was a little unknown company, right? But I am well aware of it because they always pitch me stories. As a business editor, I get a lot of these pitches, and they always pitch me about cybersecurity, right? So obviously today, on the day that they become famous or infamous, I wrote back saying, "Hey,
Can you
okay,
come guest?
now
You're too
can you
busy
get?"
today.
I know, but I had to take a chance, right? So
Right.
today I wrote
It's
back
worth
and
it.
said, "Hey, today's the day to talk. Do you have someone?"
Did they even get your email? That's the question
They
on my
did,
mind.
and they replied eventually, and just giving us the same statement that the CEO posted on Twitter. So they're still slammed. No one is having a weekend today, if at all, for the next several months.
In CrowdStrike, however, everywhere else, everyone is saying, well, Friday, the weekend started early because the last working day ended early.
Oh, is that right? Joining us today to talk more about this global outage, we have with us cybersecurity expert Abet De La Cruz. He's the director of PhCert Coordinating Center. Hi, Abet. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, a not so pleasant evening, ladies, in terms of security, that is.
Indeed.
It is going to be a long weekend, especially for the ones that are going to be having to fix those problems, and maybe we'll discuss that later.
Yeah, yeah. Did you yourself get the blue screen of death? What they call the
Fortunately,
BSOD?
no, because we have opted for a different EDR, and that's one of the terminologies we'll try and define tonight. Yes.
Okay. I bet the first question in my mind is, again, we were talking about how global this outage was. How is it possible that a single software update could cause so much chaos? I mean, I understand they service a lot of the U.S. Fortune 500 companies, but does that also mean that those are the same software programs that their branches in other countries use? Is that we don't actually know how it works.
Yeah, that's correct. You see, the product is called Falcon Sensor, and it's a product by CrowdStrike. And this is what we geeks called an EDR, an endpoint detection and response software. It's the fancy new name now of antiviruses, by the way. So the antiviruses before, you've got to get an update, a list of all the known attacks, right? But with EDRs today, they are very much behavior aware, and they can now detect, attacks, whether discovered, known or unknown, and that's what makes it so powerful. The file size, the footprint is so small, and that you don't have to do a lot of updates. Now the thing is, just like any other software in the world, it's made by man. So we need to do updates, right? So there's either a feature update or a bug update or a correction in the software. So before you do this, there's supposed to be a lot of testing involved. So apparently, maybe they missed out on something. The update was published, went into production, and it affected Microsoft Windows operating system. So the cause is the Falcon sensor, and it affected Windows. And not just because it's Windows, but because there's a lot more people using Windows than any other operating system.
And Abet, I don't know if you would know the answer to this. Generally, would this be a really tough problem to solve? Because, it's just one thing, right? One little thing in the programming, in the code, I'm guessing. I'm super not a very tech-savvy person, but mahirap ba tong ayusin?
That's a very, very good question. So normally they would send a patch, and this is the piece of software that would fix the problems. But the situation here is a little bit uh, difficult, I would say, because the effect of this bug is that it causes the Windows operating system to reboot and flash the infamous BSOD, or what you call the blue screen of death. Your screen turns blue, and the operating system will tell you something is wrong. Normally, if it's not in the process of booting, it's easy. If you're connected to a network, a patch can be uploaded or downloaded, and then you can correct it. But the thing here is that you haven't even reached that point or in your logged in or connected to the network. So the thing is now the remediation or the fix to this has to be manual. That means you have to boot it in what we call safe mode, and then upon the given instructions of both Microsoft and CrowdStrike, you have to change some configuration files. So I wouldn't say it's difficult, but the term would be mabusisi siya.
Yes.
It will take a lot of
So
time.
kumbaga, Abet, correct me if I'm wrong, no, if I'm understanding this correctly, the IT departments of everyone whose system is affected, they would have to manually encode, kumbaga, the cure.
Fix, yes.
Yes, the
That
fix.
is right.
Oh,
That
you
is right.
can't just deploy it.
No, because you can't even open your computer, right?
so
You can't even boot the machine.
You're right.
With all
Yeah.
that being said, what is the timeline to be able to fix this? Because flights are delayed, people cannot transact through their online banking, and who knows, marami pang iba pang pwedeng maging problema, arising from all of this. What is the timeline for this problem to be fixed?
That again is a very excellent question. The answer would be depends on how many computers that are affected, and of course the role of these computers. So we're not just talking here yung mga workstations, that we use every day, ginagamit natin sa office and everything. But CrowdStrike also has components that are installed in the servers to protect servers. So kung yung workstations, you can probably live without not doing anything over the weekend. But if it's a system or a device that has, very important roles to play in your IT ecosystem, then that's where the problem is going to be. The fix is relatively simple and fast, probably a couple of minutes. But again, you quantity-wise, that's the problem. Of course, you want to target first the more important servers and systems, right? I know that some banks have already gotten their systems up already at this time.
Okay.
But they did say that they've already deployed the fix.
Yes.
Decipher that for us. What does that mean?
Okay. So there's a bug in the software, right? So you deploy what you call a patch or a fix, right? So normally, if your computer is operating normally, you can just run this fix or update the software. But remember, because it causes what we call a loop, whenever you boot your computer, it will go to the blue screen of death and it will pause there, BSOD, and then just goes over and over and over again. So the only solution is you have to put it in what we call a Windows safe mode. So that means you got to press some keys before it boots up. They'll take you to safe mode. They'll give you the prompt, and then from that prompt, you have to manually do or perform the instructions, change the files, some configurations, and possibly delete some entries. That will fix that problem. Remember, you have to make it boot first, right?
That's the problem, right? That's why I'm wearing light blue today, to protest what happened for everyone. But Abet, okay, can every single IT professional, is it relatively simple enough? I understand, mabusisi siya, it's tedious, maraming
Right.
steps and hassle, manual, di na tayo sanay sa ganon. But in terms of, kumbaga, how easy is it to do it? Is it accessible for most IT professionals?
Yes, if you have a rudimentary knowledge of computers, you can write down the instructions 1 to N, and you just have to follow these sequentially, and you will be able to fix it.
Okay, pero may guarantee rin, no? As the CEO of CrowdStrike said, this is not a security incident or cyber attack. I'm sure those who are less tech savvy are panicking, thinking, this could be
It
it.
affects major services like banking services,
Right.
right?
Right, correct.
Abet, we don't like we were just saying. Not many people knew what CrowdStrike was. What do you know about them? Like, are they generally reputable? I mean, before today.
Yes, yes, very much. This is evident by the sheer number of companies that actually have their software. It's actually one of these, growing fields in the information security field is what we call EDR, like I said, endpoint detection and response. This will eventually replace antiviruses, by the way. So they are very reputable. They have really good software and they perform as advertised. Yun lang nga, in the process of updating,
So-
that's where it happened. So I don't know who pushed or who gave the okay to release it into production, but that seems to be the story behind this.
Oh dear. It
Well-
feels like no matter how good of a company you are, that these things may happen.
And also,
Things happen. Security
right.
things happen. Even in security companies, they often, well, not often, but they also get hacked as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're a security company, Abet, and is there such a thing as an honest mistake when you are dealing with this kind of business, no? Security, you're protecting data.
I get what you mean. So regardless of the organization, even if you're a security organization, security company, we have this saying: it's not if, it's when and how severe. Things do happen. All of the famous companies, well, most of them, some security companies providing security software also got hacked. So it's just a matter of time. But in software development, there's called the software development life cycle, and there are stages in releasing the software into production. And this is what you really have to be eagle-eyed about. In these stages, you got to check every stages, see if it's secure, and at the end stage, there's a lot of testing going on. So as you can see, right, whenever you get a patch for your Windows machines, you just say, oh, okay, yes, patch, yes. That's because it's just a workstation. But remember, if this is a server which houses databases or runs your web application or your e-commerce application, hindi mo pwedeng basta-bastang i-update na lang siya. Because that update might cause certain problems, certain bugs, certain programs not to run. That's why there's an extensive testing process before what we call you release the software into production.
Okay, so sa madaling salita, para siyang, almost everyone, a lot of people use iPhones, di ba? Marami nagsasabi, wag mong i-download agad yung update as soon as it becomes available. Wait a day or two daw para sure na walang bugs kasi lalabas naman daw sa internet. Doon sa mga naunang
Well, we'll see.
This is not the first time it happened. Even mga feature updates lang before from some software. And then it crashed the machine. So we'll never know.
Yeah.
There's some wisdom to what you said, but also I would choose if it's a feature update. Yes,
Yeah.
I would wait. But if it is a security update, I'll probably patch it
As soon as
agad.
possible.
Kasi that means it's a security update. That means there's a threat to the security of the device. So
That's
I'll
really
take
good
the
advice.
risk. This is a
Good
security update.
advice to go
Good
by. We're going to have to leave it there. Thanks so much for making sense of all of this for us. That was you, PH CERT Coordinating Center Director, Abet de la Cruz.
Up next, what do Filipinos want to hear during the President's third State of the Nation address? We'll speak to political strategist Malu Tikia after the break. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. You're still watching The Big Story here on One News.
Now, several members of the medical community are speaking up against the DOF directive ordering PhilHealth to return its excess funds to the government. Some 63 groups have signed a petition calling on President Marcos to step in. Here's the report.
How can PhilHealth have excess funds of close to 90 billion pesos when it still has unpaid obligations? That's the big question for the medical community. The Private Hospitals Association of the Philippines says PhilHealth still owes them between 4 and 6 billion pesos. That amount covers COVID cases, return to hospital expenses, and other denied claims of health institutions from 2019 to 2023.
The hospitals continue to refile because we believe na tama naman yung aming mga claims. May mga hospitals na malaki pang hindi nababayaran at meron namang hospitals na unti-unti nababayaran ng PhilHealth.
Unlike government hospitals that receive subsidies, De Grano says the budget of private medical centers can only stretch so much.
Yung perang yon, in advance yan ng mga private hospitals. So, to the point na yung reserve ng mga private hospitals nauubos. Kasi doon naman nila lang ginagamit yan sa pambili ng mga supplies, gamot, pambayad sa mga salaries ng ating mga empleyado.
The issue blew up after the DOF directed PhilHealth to return what they say is excess funds to the tune of 89.9 billion pesos, so it may be used for unprogrammed activities. Even as PhilHealth tried to make assurances that returning that money won't affect their operations and member benefits, experts aren't convinced. So far, the insurer has returned 20 billion pesos to the national coffers.
Paano masasabing excess funds when tayong mga Pilipino have to look for other means para lang matugunan ang kanilang pangangailangan na pangkalusugan. Yung iba nga namamatay nang hindi man lamang sila nakaka-receive nung talagang dapat na healthcare na needs nila.
Limpin joins members of around 63 medical groups and healthcare professional organizations who are questioning this move. They also plan to take the issue to the Supreme Court.
It's illegal. Kasi malinaw sa charter ng PhilHealth at dun sa ating Universal Healthcare Law, malinaw doon na sinasabi na kung pondo ang PhilHealth, kung may reserve fund siya, either palakihin yung scope ng serbisyo ng mga mamayan, yung mga benepisyo na nakukuha natin, o ibaba yung premium ng taong bayan.
The groups are calling on President Bongbong Marcos to step in and undo the DOF's directive, which by the way extends to other GOCCs, not just PhilHealth.
Ang sabi nga po ni BBM, di ba? Bawat buhay mahalaga. Yan sana isakatuparan ni Pangulong Bongbong ang kanyang mahalaga na bawat buhay ng Pilipino.
The groups hope Marcos will address the issue at Monday's State of the Nation address. For News 5, JC Cosico, we are One News.
Well, speaking of sobering numbers, here's another one. Around 16 million Filipino families see themselves as poor, according to a survey from the SWS. This is the highest self-rated poverty number in the last 16 years. In the 1,500 individuals surveyed by the social weather stations from June 23 to July 1, 58% said that they are poor. That's equivalent to around 16 million Filipino families. This is a 12% increase compared to the 46% recorded in March. According to SWS, 71% of respondents came from Mindanao, followed by the Visayas. Meanwhile, balanced Luzon or areas outside Metro Manila recorded 52%. It was in 2008 when the Philippines recorded a 59% self-rated poverty rating during the time of former President Gloria Arroyo. Now, in that same survey, the number of Filipinos who say that they are borderline or close to poverty decreased to 12% from 30%. On the other hand, though, the number of those who say that they are not poor also went up. Margin of error for national percentages was plus or minus 2.5%.
Well, not great numbers to see heading into President Marcos's third State of the Nation address. Let's try to get some insights from political strategist Malu Tequia. Ms. Tequia is also the founder of Publicus Asia, which also does similar surveys. Good evening, Malu. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening.
Great.
Thank you for inviting me.
The first thing I wanted to ask you is, well, we invited you to try to talk about, to do a SONA primer, State of the Nation address. And so let's begin from a bird's eye view. What are you hoping to hear? Of course, we have a lot of, all of us want to hear a lot of things, but what are your top 3 things that you want the president to address?
Well, my top 3 things are one, it's all economics. One is on inflation, what is the plan of the president on reining inflation, because inflation has an impact on the prices of commodities. Utilities are increasing, the gasoline prices are increasing, so all these things are very important in looking at and dealing with inflation. Second is I'm very particular about salary or wages, because right now the increase of 35 pesos may not redound to a win-win situation for daily wage earners. And third is the job market in the country. We need to produce more jobs because there are more graduates joining the economy. It is graduation season, so it's very important for us to be able to place these graduates and make them productive.
Okay. Actually, that coincides with the Post-Asia results that was released just a week or so ago.
Earlier this week.
Controlling inflation, increasing the pay of workers, and reducing poverty were the top 3 concerns of Filipinos and top 3 things they wanted the president to address in the State of the Nation. The fourth was more creating more jobs, which was your third point. Yeah.
It's actually the result of polls dovetails the results of Pahayag, our quarterly survey. The total of those 3 pointers are 56%. So it's a huge number to begin with, since apparently the administration has not adequately handled it.
Okay, Malu, leading up to this SONA, right, we have seen that the palace was holding kind of like press cons per department. Every day may isang secretary na nagsasalita about plans. What did you make of all of that? Is that a usual happening? And what was your takeaway from all of those press cons? Maririnig ba rin natin, no, yung summation nun sa SONA on Monday?
That's a very good question, because apparently the pre-SONA, the one they did over the government channel, actually lowers the bar in terms of putting together and preparing the public for the State of the Nation address. First is the host. I don't think our Mr. Nieto was prepared to present really what has been achieved. Yes, the department secretaries was there, but they were not talking about accomplishments. They were talking in broad strokes. SONA is usually broad strokes, and you need data, you need the details, you need the action agenda rolled out and explained to the public, because the president can only speak for what? Maximum of 2 hours. Beyond that, nobody pays attention to it. So The pre-SONA is very important. In the previous administration, the pre-SONA was a huge event, and there's a panel, all the cabinet secretaries are there, and everyone is invited. Today, the government channel was not utilized well in order to reach to a crowd, and having Mr. Nieto as the moderator who came very ill prepared doesn't look good for the government. I think the pre-SONA was not given its due regard since if you take a look at previous administrations, the pre-SONA was a major event so that the expectations are managed for the State of the Nation address.
Okay. Let me just do a quick follow-up, Riza. I also noticed your tweet a few days ago. I believe you noticed that the LEDAC came before the SONA as opposed to, the usual after SONA. Tsaka magko-convene yung LEDAC. What was the
That's
thought
right.
that went behind your tweet? Why do you think that the LEDAC was convened before?
Yeah, the tradition is the president will do the SONA, and then there's a common agenda between the House and the Senate, and you do that after the SONA because the SONA is directional. It tells you the priorities for next year. Of course, number one important there is the budget. And then both houses will convene and agree on their agenda, and then they meet with LEDAC. LEDAC is multisectoral. So I don't understand why LEDAC was done unless there is no direction. LEDAC has always been after the State of the Nation address. In previous administration, that has always been the case. In this administration, LEDAC went ahead so that I don't know if the discussions made in LEDAC will be reflected in the SONA.
Okay. Malu?
The interconnection with the agenda, and they agree. You have to see that we only have 70 session days for the third regular session of the 19th Congress before we get into campaign mode. And I heard just today that Senate President Escudero was considering making Thursday session day. So if Thursday becomes a session day, that would be 93 session days. And with all the listings of bills and legislative measures being made in LEDAC, I don't think we have enough session days to really consider certain key legislations passed by this third regular session.
Well, do you think it would matter on who's attending and who's not? We already have, reported that Vice President Sara Duterte has already said that she will not be attending SONA. You think this would matter to how successful President Marcos' SONA will be, depending on the attendance?
Well, the SONA has always been highly attended. That's a measurement of the strength of the parties in government. No, we have seen that pre-election 2025, you have political parties joining Partido Federal and them creating the Bagong Alyansa. No, so you will. I think it is very important that. They would attend. My only problem there is staging it is very high. It's 20 million, and the 20 million can be used that needed some financial push. The vice being, having said that, the vice president that being there, well, it is really the decision of the vice president to attend or not to attend. Of course, she will be missed since the pan of the camera and all this innuendos of the vice president not being present would come into the picture. But I think it will not take away the interest of the public, whether you are there in the halls of Congress or outside watching to see what really is in store for the next year of this administration. This is a third year. It's midterm, and it is crucial because midterm elections are coming. And as you very well know,
Malu? Oh dear. I think we've.
is
think she'll come
a
back.
referendum.
Okay. Malu, hi.
Midterms.
You're coming in a bit choppy. So the
You're
midterm
quite
serves
choppy.
as a
Midterm
referendum.
serves as a referendum on the administration. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
And it is the when people listen in the State of the Nation address, the third, people will also be thinking about whatever happened to unity, whatever happened to having
20 peso
everyone
rice?
there and coming up with their action agenda.
Well, you're also a political strategist. What do you think the vice president's next moves will be? I mean, I noted that you've also previously said that you think she might be more forthcoming now in how she speaks about the administration. So what do you think her next moves will be?
That's right. I think she has been forthright right after resigning as DepEd secretary. I think she will. The reason why viewing the SONA from afar, outside the political noise, can actually be very good for her to take stock of where she wants to bring her institution, the Office of the Vice President, in relation to this administration. I don't think she will readily jump into being the opposition. I think that will be a calibrated move, and she has, because she has to
Oh dear. Okay. I think the internet's finally
Malu?
given up. I don't know if this is related to CrowdStrike, but
I was
we'll
thinking
try.
the exact same.
I don't think so,
know.
but
Have we
nevertheless-
lost Malu? Can we get confirmation from control?
We might have lost her.
still here.
Oh no, she's there.
Oh, okay.
She's there.
Uh,
Sorry, real quickly. We lost a chunk of what you were saying due to choppiness.
About the Vice President?
Yes.
Yeah, well, the Vice President may not necessarily end up as opposition immediately. My
Do you
sense
think-
is she will be a fiscalizer. Her being out of the noise, the political noise in the House of Representatives, and looking it from a distance allows her the ability to understand and think in her mindset what the president is going to say on Monday. I don't think she will deliver a contra SONA because that is not yet a clear path to her. But certainly she will take note of what the president is saying and accordingly plan.
Okay.
She's a very calibrated person.
So Sara Duterte as a fiscalizer, that's exactly what I was going to ask you. Last question. We're entering this SONA, right? Right before the midterm elections, and in the climate where people are unhappy with the economic situation. Clearly, that's something that all surveys reflect. Another thing that the surveys reflect are declining ratings, approval, trust ratings. Sometimes it's marginal, sometimes it's a bit more marked. What do you make of all of that entering into the SONA, and can the SONA help cure these ratings?
Well, one, voters are angry. That's why the base are melting. Second, I don't think the SONA will cure that anger unless there is action. You see, SONA are all rhetorics. SONA is all about optics. It's about being able to put together the messages and address it. The bigger audience, good leaders would always look at those outside of the halls of Congress as being the target audience. Weak leaders would pander to those in the plenary. So that we will have to to see when the president delivers his third SONA. But again, I will kind of go to voters being angry, and all surveys show that kind of result. They want action. They do not want rhetorics, optics. They want solutions to problems, and certainly they want a future that is guaranteed by a strong government.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to have to leave that there. We've run out of time, but thank you so much for joining us, political strategist Malu Tequia. Moving on to suspended Bamban Mayor Alice Guo. She took to Facebook to air her grievances against senators today. In a lengthy Facebook post, Guo said she regrets not attending the previous Senate hearings. But she said, I'm deeply concerned about and keep questioning why Senator Win Gatchalian, Senator Risa Ontiveros, and the other officers seem fixated on me. Am I really the country's biggest problem that they need to focus on? Guo also called on the two senators to focus on other issues instead of threatening her with arrest. She also denied any involvement in the death threats being received by Gatchalian. In response, Senator Ontiveros said,
Mayor Alice Guo o Guo Huaping, mas marami pa kayong post sa Facebook kaysa pag-attend sa Senate hearing. Hindi katumbas ng attendance mo sa Senado ang mayat-maya mong pagsusocial media. Huwag kayong mag-alala, hindi kami fixated sa'yo. Allergic lang kami sa mga sinungaling. Nagsinungaling ka tungkol sa koneksyon mo sa Pogo. Nagsinungaling ka tungkol sa pagkatao mo. At kada login mo sa Facebook, may bago ka na namang iniimbento.
Now, in weather, it's been rather cloudy and rainy, today, Friday, across the country due to two low-pressure areas spotted by Pag-asa. But among those heavily affected by the rains are residents in Oriental Mindoro. Heavy rains have led to widespread flooding in several areas of Oriental Mindoro, affecting homes, public spaces, and causing preemptive evacuations. Now, in a video taken by a local resident, houses in Bungabong, Oriental Mindoro can be seen submerged in flood waters. Residents were forced to move their belongings to higher ground as flood levels reach knee-deep. Now, in the midst of the rain, two landslides were recorded in the town of Socorro. But it's not just in Oriental Mindoro. Many houses were also flooded in Bantayan Island in Cebu. Now, for the past week, many areas across the country have been experiencing rain and flooding due to the combined effects of a low-pressure area and the southwest monsoon. According to Pag-asa, as of 4 in the morning, the LPA was last spotted 135 kilometers west-southwest of Calapan City, Oriental Mindoro. Now, another LPA has formed 880 kilometers east of eastern Visayas. Tomorrow, the LPA near Mindoro is expected to exit the Philippine Area of Responsibility. Meanwhile, the second LPA is forecast to approach Luzon over the weekend.
We are closely monitoring with our regional counterparts just to make sure that the needs of the country is met and with urgency. Yun pong ating NDREAM OC ay naka-blue alert po ngayon.
Heading into sports, is everybody excited? We are
week to
down. Yes, 1 week to go. 7 days before the Olympic Games Paris 2024 kicks off. May konting problema lang. Now, as we have discussed earlier about the global software outage, the Paris Olympics Organizing Committee said that its operations have also been slightly affected by the outage. In a statement, the organizing committee said the impacts are limited and the concern in particulars in the delivery of uniforms and accreditations. They added that Paris 2024's ticketing systems are unaffected. The operations around the preparation of venues is continuing normally and work schedules are not at risk. The torch relay is also continuing along its route. Now, the committee, however, did not immediately provide details on how its operations were affected. Meanwhile, the first Olympic athletes to arrive in Paris began checking into the Olympic Village. Athletes from Australia, South Africa, Japan, Uruguay, and United States were some of the first to arrive to the village, which is in Saint Denis. Now, the complex will host more than 20,000 athletes and delegates throughout the Olympics and Paralympics. Paris will begin its Olympics extravaganza with an unprecedented opening ceremony on the River Seine on July 26.
And just before we go, here is our big picture to end this week. And it's nothing. This thing, Jollibee's Chicken Joy, that makes everybody happy. Here is a post of appreciation from Jollibee, United States. After the Chicken Joy was named #1 or the best fast food fried chicken there, the Chicken Joy beat the fried chicken of famous U.S. chicken brands Popeyes and Chick-fil-A. The voting was arranged by USA Today, where its editors, its readers, and dining experts took part. In its caption, USA Today said that Jollibee is the largest and fastest growing Asian restaurant company in the world. They are best known for Chicken Joy, the signature juicy, flavorful fried chicken. Order it in buckets or accompanied by sides, and don't forget to dip it in their silky gravy.
Sides? They have sides there for
They
the
have
Chicken
sides
Joy?
there. Yeah, you have to be able to compete with like the Popeyes there. They don't eat it, I think, quite the same way that we do.
Not with rice,
Not with
for
rice.
sure. But this is significant. This
Right.
is
It is.
what we call the mainstreaming of Filipino food, because I remember several years ago when Jollibee set out a plan for global dominance, as in cornering the fast food market in Asia, in the US. A lot of people were like, really? How can you beat entrenched brands like McDonald's, KFC, Popeyes, Chick-fil-A, and
It's
and
called
so
their
on and so
secret
forth?
weapon, the Chicken Joy.
Yeah, but we also know that the rest of the menu is Filipinized, right?
That's
which
true.
doesn't, which not a lot of,
Appeal, right.
No, but
which
just
doesn't
like,
appeal to foreigners. But look at them now. I
No,
mean,
but to be fair, okay, I
number
try
one
to
on-
visit Jollibee's when I travel, and they kind of do tweak the taste. The one thing that remains constant, at least in my opinion, is the Chicken Joy.
Right.
Right?
Just
so
like McDonald's tweaks its menu
Yes.
slightly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they kind of do that also to suit, I guess, the palates of wherever they are. For example, in Milan, the spaghetti, it does not taste like our
The
spaghetti.
sweet one that we have here.
Yeah, no, it's not like that.
The Italians will get angry.
They're more on the tomato.
I think that spaghetti
Flavor.
will still make them angry.
But still,
but it's,
you know, USA Today is a major paper in the U.S., and so for them to make take the top spot in that list says something about
Right.
Jollibee. Congratulations
I'm getting
to
hungry.
them. It's a milestone. I have to objectively say, I mean, from a business standpoint, how far they've come in terms of cornering the U.S. market, in terms of taking away a slice of the U.S. market, is impressive.
It is. Okay, so maybe we should consider having Jollibee this weekend, because on Monday, it will be the SONA, State of the Nation address.
Connection.
Yung connection dun is because we have our special coverage. So One News's coverage of President Bongbong Marcos's third State of the Nation address.
So we should stuff our faces now.
Yes, because you're going to
Okay.
starve on Monday. You might actually not be able to have lunch.
Carbo load now.
Yes, because our coverage here at One News, it will be starting at 3 p.m. The SONA, as mandated by the Constitution, is supposed to start at 4 p.m. President Bongbong Marcos is pretty punctual, so I'm pretty sure it will go on schedule. And that's it